Hello everyone, my name is Pat. Welcome to my channel. Today I will be talking about all the books that I read for the month of December. Now this is coming in late because it's been pretty busy past few days. So, I read 22 books for December. That's quite a lot, but it does include, I think, 8 mangas, so very quick reads. So without further ado, the first one that I finished is The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling. This is actually the one that I read is an arc, but I received a copy from Fairloot. I rated this one a 3 stars. This is an okay read, but I wanted more for the friendship and the family exploration. It also deals with grief. I like the characters. The plot was okay, but I just wanted a little bit more layers to the story, to the characters, to the plot. The next one is another arc that I actually won. This is Electric Idol by Katie Robert. This one is going to be out January. Is it already out? I think this will be out end of January. This one is a 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. The spice was enjoyable and I liked our characters. Loved the main couple and their dynamic and their overall relationship. And I definitely am looking forward to reading the rest of the series. I think Wicked Beauty is coming out June. The next one that I read is a duology. And the first book is Where Dreams Descend and One Night Breaks by Janella. I'm gonna rate this in its entirety a 3.5 stars. The first book, Where Dreams Descend, was I think a 4.75 stars. It was a lot of fun. I loved the first book. It has beautiful writing, supportive, it's immersive, and when I was reading it, it felt like I was watching actual performances, actual magical performance. I can see it playing out in my head. It was really amazing, and I loved the story. I loved the characters. It is kind of like Night Circus meets The Greatest Showman. It's like the perfect comparison. I loved the tense moments. I loved the unknown element in here that were slowly revealed. It did end with a lot of questions. This book ended with literally no answers, but tons of questions, which I honestly wasn't mad about. It made sense in the story for me and for it to end in that way. So usually for me, if it only ends with questions and we get no answers, usually I'll get really frustrated. But for this book, it was completely understandable for me, and so I really enjoyed this one. And then the second book happened. Okay, so the first part of the second book, I think the first fourth of the book is literally us just getting a lot of answers. Most of the questions that we have in the first book were answered in the first fourth of the book. Obviously, there's still a little more things that were revealed to us throughout the book, but we got a very kind of info dumpy in the beginning, which didn't really make me dislike the book. Only when it got to the main plot of the story, it turned into something else, and I wasn't really along for the ride. I didn't really want the story to go that way. I still love the characters. I still root for the characters and their happiness and them being together. All of that, yes, great, amazing. But where the story went and how we got to our ending, I didn't really understand why it was happening. I can see it happening, but I didn't really understand why, and I didn't fully understand why we were going in this direction. So yeah, I wanted to love this duology. I really did, because I've heard a lot of people did enjoy this one, but yeah, the first book was great. The second book started off pretty okay, but it was really disappointing. And then I picked up the An Ember in the Ashes Quartet, and I love this book series. I am going to rate the entirety of this quartet a 5 stars. It's amazing. Right from the very beginning, I was hooked. First book, An Ember in the Ashes, I was hooked right in the beginning. It's very readable, it's very accessible. It doesn't have a writing that you need to get used to. It is YA fantasy, but some YA fantasies, sometimes you have to get used to the author's writing style. And for this one, I didn't. I was immediately hooked from the beginning, and we're already getting so much in the beginning. So there's a lot of content warnings this one, because we are dealing with rebellion and war. There's a lot of things that these characters are going through. I loved reading the story. I loved watching them and reading about them grow and change and just grow into the person that they were meant to be. I already talked about this book in my top favorite books because this made it in my favorite books of 2021. I loved following their love, their loss, their friendship, as much as these authors were so heartbreaking, and just the way that they grew and changed as the story went on. I just ended up loving this series so much and caring so much for the characters and just wanting them all to be happy and to find that happiness, to find their happy endings. And I cried a lot especially during the fourth book, because of how we ended, where we ended. Honestly, A Reaper at the Gates also made me cry because of that ending and what happened at the end, and I was just unsure of where we were gonna go after that ending in the third book. I did a 24-hour reading blog where I read the last 2 books primarily, and I was crying. I was very emotional. I was hooked. I was stressed. It was a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions, and I don't know, I just love this series. One of my favorite. Like, I knew it was going to be because a lot of people have said that this is one of the best YA fantasy books out there, and I agree 100%. And so go read it if you haven't read them yet. And then I finished The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Also included this one in my top books of 2021, obviously a 5 stars. And this was so dark. This was very, very dark. I have heard from a lot of people that if you think of a list of content warnings and you're probably gonna choose all of them for this one, because a lot of things happen here. We are following Rin, who is described as an anti-hero. She is not your typical heroic, kind, just person. She struggles right from the beginning because she is adopted and she wasn't treated very well by her adoptive parent. And so she wanted to get herself out of this situation, and so she tries to pass the Keju, which is this nationwide test for everybody to take, and it will determine if they will go into the synagogue, which is the top school for soldiers. Essentially. I love Rin as a character. Again, she is definitely morally gray, but she is layered. R.F. Kuang's writing isn't also something that you need to get used to. I was definitely hooked from the beginning as well. I would say it's not as readable as An Ember in the Ashes, but it's not hard to read. Very different. This is the kind of book that you need to pay attention to what you're reading, really paying attention, because you're gonna lose information. This is already a long book, but R.F. Kuang is able to really dense book where the characters are layered. The world is layered. The world is complex. The relationships are complicated. And it was just a joy to read this book. It is very dark. I have a lot of tabs for this one. And again, I love Rin as a character. I love following her. She's very intriguing. She's very interesting to follow. She's not this usual overpowered OP kind of character where everything kind of goes well for her. She might have struggles, but she quickly finds her footing and excels in everything that she does. No, she doesn't. She is thrust into this environment that she is so unused to. It's very new. The people are talking the same language, but the accent is different. A lot of people are looking down on her because she is a peasant. So she has to get used to this new environment in this new school. And now how she passed the test, the things that she had to do to pass the test, she has to continue doing it for the next 4 or 5 years that she's going to be in this school. And we watch her struggle to realize that, to come to that conclusion, and for her to, again, find her footing. And she's always getting challenged, and she's growing, definitely. She's learning so much from school, but she isn't perfect. It's not close to being perfect. If anything, she's insecure about these other kids who are privileged, who have had tutors from when they were very young, who are used to this kind of environment, this kind of educational system, and have the resources, the comfort to be able to study and do well in school. And she doesn't have that. She literally has to move away from her family. She doesn't know anybody in the synagogue. No one. We see her struggle. We see her in the way she changes and the way she grows perceptions, the way she sees the world, and then she's thrust into war. And she experiences a whole nother world of difficulty. It's not even, you wouldn't even just call it difficulty. It's literally war. It's people dying, people suffering, people getting tortured. And it's a lot. Very dark. And I just really enjoyed reading this book. I'm currently actually about to finish The Dragon Republic, and it's still as dark. If anything, it's darker because now we can see that they have gone through a lot in the second half of the Poppy War, and you can see them getting traumatized. But now we're dealing with them actually now are heavily traumatized and still getting traumatized from the things that they're experiencing. It's a lot. It's very heavy, but it's very compelling, intriguing to read, and interesting to read. And it's just reading Rin's perspective. It's not written in her perspective. It's in third perspective. We're mainly following her story. So we're seeing the world through her kind of eyes, I guess you could say. And so I just love this book so much. I am pretty sure that I will be including the second and the third book in my top of 2022. I already know it. It's a done deal. Loved it. And then because of I read this one and it was very dark. I actually finished it Christmas Eve, and I wasn't feeling very well because I had my booster shot the day before that, and I was reading it during that time, plus also Christmas Eve when we were at our relative's house for Christmas Eve dinner. I finished it during that time. Yes, during that dinner. So I wanted something light because it was very, very dark. So the first one that I finished is in my Christmas TBR, which is Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. I believe this is my first Tessa Bailey book. Tessa Bailey is very popular in Book Talk and just a few other books that I am interested in reading, but this is a Christmas book that she released. So it was the Christmas book for Book Talk, and I loved it. Really enjoyed it. This is a Grumpy Sunshine trope. The spice is great. It gave me exactly what I needed. It's quick read, full of holiday cheer, because we are also dealing with a lot of different serious, heavy topics on this one, especially with the main character having just left prison, and obviously us exploring why she got into prison, all that, and finding love, letting herself love, and also dealing with like a toxic friendship that she's had for years. And the main lead is just the sunshine, super kind, super nice type of guy. But again, the spice is great. So, and then I read The Nautilus by Ellie MacGregor. This is a Santo smut. This is 50 pages, and again, gave me exactly what I needed. And the smut is great. Love the spice. Window shopping and The Nautilus, I rated it 4.5 stars. And then I picked up 5 volumes of a manga that I wasn't planning on picking up, honestly. I just wanted to try to see if I liked it, and I did. So this is My Dress Up Darling. This is suggestive, even though we are following 15-year-olds. It did kind of throw me off in the beginning when I started reading this one, but eventually kind of eased up on the suggestive nature of this book. There's no sex. There's no on-page sex. It's not smut. It's not spice. There's, a little bit, suggestive moments. This is also going to be in my top mangas for this year, which is going to be coming out after this video. We are following a shy, timid boy who makes henna dolls, and he's very insecure about this interest in this hobby of his. He is asked for help by one of his popular classmates. She is known for having like a bright, fun, and kind personality, and she's very much interested in cosplaying, and she doesn't know how to sew. And they meet one day after she sees him using their school's sewing machine and enlists his help. And throughout the volumes, we see them do different kind of cosplays and learn more about cosplaying, and not just about the clothes, but also like the makeup and the accessories. And they meet friends and learn from these friends about not just cosplaying, but also in like their friendship. And it's really great. They have an amazing friendship, and there is hints of romance on here. The girl very early on realized that she really likes the guy, and the guy is a little bit clueless about his own feelings. You can definitely tell that he is attracted to her, but I don't think he like fully realizes like feels about her yet, because he's very much like caught up in the cosplaying aspect of this story, like just making like the best and greatest costumes for her, and he's learning a lot, and so he's just like kind of preoccupied by that. Really enjoyed this one. I read the first 5 volumes. I think there's going to be 8 volumes. I'm not 100% sure, but so far in terms of the romance, we don't really have, it's not like the focus of it yet. We haven't gotten a lot of development yet on that aspect, but I just love the friendship. They have a really great friendship because they're very open with each other and they communicate very well. They're just both great kids to read about. They're both just kind and accepting and open to other people, and they're not at all judgmental. It's really refreshing to read characters that are like that, but they don't feel like flat or boring. They still feel layered, and they still feel like real characters. The next one is The Holiday Switch by Tiff Marcello. This is a YA. This is my only YA Christmas read. The rest are like adult spicy reads, but I really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I thought this was going to be like one of those like quick fun reads that I would just like. This one I rated 4.5 stars, and I usually don't like when the premise involves one or both of the main characters having secrets from their loved ones. I usually don't, and in here that's present in both of the characters. But I love the way it was handled in the story, even when we got to the end, when obviously it's going to be the main kind of conflict in the story when their secrets get revealed. I love the way that it was handled. I love the family aspect of it, and I understood like both the stance of the different characters, because sometimes in books like this where the characters keep secrets from their family, a lot of the times to me it really doesn't make sense. To them, in their situation, I understood why they felt like they had to keep this a secret. They switched phones one day in accident, and so they kind of learned each other's secrets. It's enemies to lovers as well. Well, more like hate to love, because they like hated each other and kind of like got in each other's nerves. I love the way that they kind of formed their friendship first and kind of like understood each other a bit better, and then fell in love. And they're very cute. It's very cute. It's very light, fun. I love the family aspect of it. The Filipino elements in this one is very, very relatable, and it's just nice to read about a character that I can relate so much to, because I didn't have that growing up. So just reading these characters with their very different kind of family dynamic, but still is like a very Filipino kind of relationship. So really enjoy this one. And then I read the last of my Christmas reads. I think I have one more. Yeah, I have one more that I didn't get to, but by the end of the year I was just like, I didn't really want to read it. Mary Inkmas by Talia Hibbert. This is another quick, spicy adult read. I rated this one a 3.75 stars, and I did like the 2 characters. I did like the layeredness of them. This is Grumpy Sunshine, and they both have their own like fears and insecurities about getting into relationships and being in a relationship and all that, and I love the way they work through it and we explore that. But I wanted a little bit more. I wanted to explore and like learn about them a little bit more. I want them to have that kind of healing a bit more because we kind of like jumped from when they had the resolution, like their final conflict, to like 5 years, I think. And I just wanted a little bit more. I wish it was a little bit. I wish we lingered a little bit more in the past when they're, you know, very new in their relationship. And still really enjoy this one. Still a really quick, fun read. I just wish it was a little bit longer. Echoes and Empires by Morgan Rhodes. This is an arc as well, and this is already out. This one came out January 4th, and okay, this one is, I wanted to love this one because I read Morgan Rhodes' Falling Kingdom series and I loved it. It was one of my, I want to say, mid YA fantasy series back then. I was looking forward to this one because I didn't expect her to be coming out with a new book right now, because Falling Kingdoms ended years ago. So, you know, I was surprised when I saw it, and I was like, yep, want to get an arc of that one. And this fell flat for me. This fell flat for me because everything was so predictable. Like, every little thing was so predictable. I predicted every little twist, every little secret that was revealed. I liked the characters. We have a FMC that is portrayed as this like really spoiled, privileged socialite, but, you know, is very sincere in her feelings towards her father and also her best friend. And then we have this love interest who is a thief and kind of like a rebel to the Empire. Although I like the dynamic, and although this was a super quick read, like I read this pretty much in one sitting. It's very readable, it's very fast. It's a 400-page book, so, you know, there's a lot in here, but again, it was too predictable. It was too predictable, unfortunately. So I was really disappointed about this one. Wanted to like it, I wanted to love it, but, and then I remember finishing Echoes and Empires like I think about an hour or so before midnight, and so I decided maybe I can get to 200 books because I reached 197 books when I finished Echoes and Empires. So I was like, what quick book can I read in an hour? And then I remembered that I still have quite a few volumes of Sweat and Soap left, so I picked up the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th volume of Sweat and Soap, and I finished it within like 2 minutes before midnight, and so I got to 200. And as always, Sweat and Soap is one of my favorites in my top Mangoes video. I loved it. It was amazing. Still amazing communication, still amazing couple, still cute, still adorable. They're still growing and learning from each other as an individual, and finally meeting the family and all of that, and moving in together. It's very cute. It's very cute, very light. I will be continuing reading this next year. I can't believe I only have 8, 9, 10, and 11 volumes left, so 4. They're gonna be super quick to read too, so I'm gonna be so sad when this is gonna be over, but it's probably gonna be one of those books that I will, you know, continue to reread very often throughout the years, because it's just light, it's fun, it's kind of comforting too, because there's not a lot of tension in the couple. It's more calm and just comforting to read. I feel like it's one of those books. Yes, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your favorite reads for December are, or like how's your reading for December, because I feel like my December was great. I included some of these in my top reads for this year. There were some disappointments, but overall I think it was a great month and a great way to end the year. So yes, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.